July 2nd, 1937. This date is important to wrestling history because it was the first time that anybody ever saw a steel cage match. It took place in Atlanta, Georgia, and consisted of the ring being surrounded by chicken wire, and it was done to prevent outside interference. Throughout history, there have been a lot of steel cage matches. Different variations of the match have come around, such as the Hell in a Cell, the Elimination Chamber, the War Games match. Whether it be one of these variations or the original cage match, this gimmick match is always entertaining, and it creates for moments. So, welcome back to Wrestling with Horror. Today, we're going to be looking at 5 memorable steel cage matches from wrestling history. Let's get going. So the first match we're going to look at is from Starrcade 1983, and it is Ric Flair versus Harley Race. This match was important. The event was also important. It was the first ever Starrcade event. It was sold as being the ultimate grudge match between the two competitors and their big blow-off for their feud. This match for the NWA Championship was a passing of the torch moment and saw Flair come out on top. And as you can probably guess, Ric Flair, in true Ric Flair fashion, bled throughout the entire match. Now, moving on to a couple problems with this match. It's never been considered one of the greatest matches of all time. It probably never will be, and for good reason. It's an important moment. It was a monumental event that led to many great events in the future. But for this particular match, I feel that the referee was too involved in the match. He didn't let the two competitors just fight. Yes, I understand that at the time, even in a steel cage match, there were rules. You had to follow certain things. The referee was just doing his job. However, when that referee becomes too much a part of the story, where he's not meant to be a part of that story, then I feel like it just takes away from the match that we're seeing, and I think that happened a little bit here. Not taking anything away from Flair or Harley Race, because these two still put on a good show. They could wrestle 99 times, and 99 times it'll be a good match. That's just how good these two men were. Moving 2 years into the future to Starrcade 1985, we see Magnum TA take on Tully Blanchard in a different take on a steel cage match for the time. It was important and it was memorable because this was an I quit steel cage match, meaning that you have to force your opponent to give up. To me, the reason this match stands out so much is because as soon as that bell rings, these two men just go right at each other and they start fighting. They brawl, they bleed, they just take all of their anger out on each other. It doesn't even feel like a wrestling match. It feels like a street fight, something that you would see in an alleyway. And again, this match does have its share of problems as well. There are timing issues, pacing issues, things like that towards the middle of the match, because these guys had quite a bit of time to work. But the beginning of the match and the finish of the match all worked well. It was a brutal fight, and again, Tully and Magnum are two phenomenal wrestlers, and they're going to make it work every time. Now let's switch over to the McMahon-run Empire for SummerSlam 1994. This cage match was between the Hitman Bret Hart and Owen Hart, his brother. Throughout the 90s, these two had an epic rivalry. Their matches were always good. These two are two of the best who have ever set foot in a ring. So every time that they got in there, you knew they were giving it 110%. You knew that the match was going to be good, and this match was no exception. Now, it might not have been as good as their WrestleMania encounter earlier on. However, this match still did the job that it was supposed to do. It was brutal. It was a technical masterclass between the two, which every match was. And it tells a story that's just built in. When you have these two brothers who grew up being trained by their father, the story's just there, and you don't have to do a whole lot to tell that story. You just plant a few seeds here and there and let these two men go to work. And it did. It worked every time. Now we're going to transport back in time again to 1983, the same year as the original Starrcade. Only this time we're looking at a Madison Square Garden show that the then WWF was putting on. This cage match was between Don Morocco and Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Now when I say cage match and Jimmy Snuka, there's probably only one thing that you're thinking of. And you would be correct. It is Jimmy Snuka's dive off the cage. That's why this match is here. It was an iconic moment. We've all seen the screenshots. We've all seen the videos. Snuka just coming off the cage, hitting his dive. It was a wonderful moment. However, that's basically the only reason this match is memorable. You had Don Morocco walking out as champion. Not much else went on during this match. You know, it was good for the moment, and believe it or not, something that I've learned in my short time involved with wrestling is that wrestling is about moments. And if you can create a moment, then you will always be remembered, and that is what Jimmy Snuka did on this night. Alright, our last stop on this train is going to be at Unforgiven 2005 in a huge grudge match. This cage match is between the Rated R superstar, Edge, and Matt Hardy. Anybody who watched wrestling in the mid-2000s remembers this rivalry. It began over a woman. This was a real-life feud that started between these two men because Matt Hardy's then-girlfriend, Lita, cheated on him with Edge. When he found out, he went online, said some things about Edge, got fired. Then, a few months later, he was brought back, and they turned this into a on-screen storyline. Now, this storyline worked out very well because it led to this wonderfully brutal, bloody battle between these two in a cage. You've got to remember, these two men were best friends before this happened. And to see them at each other's throats, literally, it was something that most people didn't expect. And yet, here we are, talking about this match some 17 years later. Now, throughout the match, they both teased a big move off the top. You had Matt Hardy hitting a side effect off the top rope. You had Edge powerbombing Matt Hardy off the top rope. But you knew something bigger was going to happen. And that came when it was time for the finish. Matt Hardy knocking Edge off the top rope. Edge is laying there on the ground. Matt Hardy climbs up on top of the cage and hits his patented leg drop onto Edge. He barely can cover him. He is wiped out as well. The referee counts 1, 2, 3. The match is over. Matt Hardy gets his revenge, which is what this match was all about. And it was the perfect use of the steel cage, and that's why this match is memorable to me. So those were 5 memorable steel cage matches throughout wrestling history. I tried to keep these very spread out. Didn't really want to choose 5 from the same era or from the same company even. I just wanted to take a broad look at steel cage matches throughout history and pick some that had some very memorable moments, some that we all remember, some that maybe we don't. If you have any other types of matches you want to see me do this kind of video with, let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know what your favorite cage matches are, or why you like these or why you didn't. So that's going to be pretty much it for this video. Remember, stay tuned for what's coming in October. We're going to be doing our special event. It's going to be a lot of fun. I got a lot of suggestions for movies to cover. It's going to be a really good time. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for all those updates that are coming very, very soon. Like the video, share the content, and let your friends and family know about this channel. Let's keep building this community, and I will see you next time on Wrestling with Horror.